Earth plane is pretty weird, huh? It feels good to be home for a while,
A
huh?
little bit weird. I would say hellish.
Yeah, the reason why me and Richard haven't streamed in a while is because we decided to go back to the flip ship just to recalibrate for a while before we continue on the mission here in the Earth dimension.
Because it's become a bit tough, even for hardened space warriors. Even special forces space warriors are getting a little bit tired of this shit.
If anything, it's the hardest for us, man. So what's going on, man?
I had a very tentacle croissant style dream last night. Should I
Okay.
report what it was? So
Yes.
as I'm going to sleep, and I was like, I try to do what is it called? Where you're awake dreaming. What is that called?
Lucid
Vivid
dream.
dream, lucid dream. Thank you. And so I've been doing that for years, and sometimes I'll catch myself falling asleep, and I know that that's when your brain is producing DMT. So I'll always try and become aware. And as I was skating along with my normal conscious thoughts, and then the drop off of sleep was coming, I went, sleep is coming. And it was a physical sensation, like sliding into water, like sliding into a warm bath, very comfortable. And I said, I caught my consciousness as I slipped off the edge of the cliff, and I went, how do you know? And I went, well, I have heard the siren call of the tube alien. And there was this long dark tube in front of me, and inside of it was an alien made of blue light, like a string of light, and it was summoning me. It was going, would you go? Would you go? And I was like, I'm ready to go into this long dark tube where there's an alien summoning me. And then I thought for a second, that's terrifying. Like, what the fuck? This isn't a happy dream. This is
Yeah.
a nightmare. And I returned back to myself, and I was like, well, why is it a nightmare? And I thought, well, I could get stuck in that tube, and that fucking alien could eat me.
Yeah.
But then the other part of me was going, no, because I'm not a localized being. There's nothing here that can hurt me. Hurt me? Hurt what?
Right.
There's no flesh suit to be hurt.
Yes.
When you're the space squid, which we all are when we sleep, we're all the same tentacle. We're all the tentacle of the same squid. You can't get hurt. And then I had this voice in my head say, fear is the body. Fear is the body. If you don't have a body and like boundaries that can be burned or cut off or electrified by weird alien creatures inside of a tube, which is claustrophobic, and you can't, like, there's no such thing as claustrophobia if you don't exist. Claustrophobia is the fear that you'll be crushed and you won't be able to breathe. The fear of an alien reptile getting hold of you is that your skin will burn and you'll be eaten alive and it'll be torture. But if there's no body, there's no fear. If there's no body,
Yeah.
and when we dream, there's no body, so there's no fear.
Wow, what a way to open up, man. That's good shit. Did I
Come into the tube with us.
I had a really long phase of lucid dreaming. I think we talked about it, but I stopped because I didn't feel like I was actually sleeping. I just felt like I was just awake for 24 hours. And it was like when you're supposed to relax, you go through another whole journey that is just way too fucking volatile for
it's just
time
more work. It's just more
it's more work.
You're just acquiring more memories and
Yeah.
resources and things.
Yeah. And I know you bring up a good point, because when people go through psychedelic experiences or they have fear in a dream or lucid dreaming or whatever, it's because they project their everyday flesh suit body into a world where it doesn't even exist in the first place.
Yeah.
And then that's when you get really scared. But if you can just like tell yourself consciously while you're in it, like, hey, it's just a part of this realm. There's no body here in this realm.
Yes, there's nothing that can be hurt. And I took that forward when I woke up, and I was like, if fear is the body, maybe our whole sense of like anything that we try to control, like our ego, is body based. So our personality, then, if you took it far enough, would have a head, it would have feet, it would have eyes, it would have arms, and you'd be tempted to think in those metaphors. Like, you can't escape the metaphor because of the flesh suit, just because of the body itself. Even trauma, all trauma requires a body. If you don't have a psychic body or an emotional body, you can't be traumatized, because there's nothing there to be wounded. So
Mm.
I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
holy shit. It's kind of hippie bullshit sounding at first, but there might actually be something fairly profound there. If you're, I think in quantum physics they say you're localized. So if you're local, so Pierre is in Prague, he is in wherever he is in Prague. I won't reveal it because your stalkers will be all over you. And he is this age, and he is this height, and he is that. That's local. You're localized in space and time. If you're not localized, there's no threat. And if there's no threat, there's no fear. If there's no fear, there's no trauma. So
Right.
then, this is a little jump. Maybe if we practiced being more non-localized, we would heal faster. I was wondering, we would heal faster.
It is quite a jump, but I would assume that along the lines of the whole Buddhist approach too. Like the Buddhist approach would be implying to get to a point where you are non-localized. You're just the consciousness that goes through dream states, meditative states that is kind of detached from the body in a sense too.
Well, that's where you get Eckhart Tolle, and speakers like him. It's kind of a distillation and a reinterpretation of Buddhism, which is don't get lost in story. Well, what
Mm.
story? Well, that's what the Buddhists would have called Maya or illusion, or all the Vedic traditions actually called it Maya and illusion. Well, what's illusion? Like, I'm living my life. Yeah, you are. But how do you extract your narrative of your experience from the experience? And can you? What's
Hmm.
the actual lived body experience in the moment versus your story? And if you start subtract one from the
Hmm.
other, you'll see there's quite a gap, actually. There's quite a gap.
Right.
It's just that we're not used to doing that. We're used to being invested in the story, invested in the narrative.
Yeah, I'm still a little torn between the idea of how important a narrative is and detaching from it. Obviously, I mean, the easy answer is probably a balance between the two, but I think getting into more of creative fields and just being, I mean, as well as you, a person who's super interested in film, literature, and stuff like that. And then it's like a whole Jordan Peterson thing of saying how important narrative and story structure is to a human's life and how do you think, or what's your opinion on having a balance between the two approaches?
I would Jordan Peterson. I don't like archetypes. I'm not interested in archetypes, but he is interested in archetypes, and he is an archetype. He
Yeah.
is the archetype of the last bastion of an old yang boundary tower
Mm,
to fall. He's the last
yeah.
one. And so, of course, he's going to say your narrative is important. And I don't deny it. It's
Mm,
incredibly critical. But where his ideology tends to fall down is distinguishing between the individual and the collective. So as an individual, does your narrative matter? Yes. But you exist inside a collective where all the narratives are broken. They're all dying. Oh,
right.
give yourself a strong story, bucko.
Right.
So, like, you still live
Yeah.
in a sea of broken stories.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, the context is unlike any other context that we've ever lived. And before, perhaps story was the most important thing to keep us not only alive, but functioning and surviving and keeping friends and family together, whatever else. But because of the current context, the Terence McKenna singularity is approaching before we can even blink. And at this point, all of the timelines of different stories are coming together to an unwatchable film because there's just too much going on. So I guess at that point, it makes sense to get out of the movie theater.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, to answer the question you asked, and I sort of meandered around it. Probably for most people, we would need to be moving away from story, because I can't. I mean, I wouldn't be able to say which parts of the story are useful and which are not. And it's very tempting to say at this point, well, like as we've said here before. Sorry, there is an echo now, Pierre.
Okay, I'll throw the headphones on. Just give me one second here.
I like the work they've done on the sides of your head. Looks cool.
Oh, yes.
That's good. That's
My
really
my current narrative is Shaolin Warrior these days.
nice. Nice. Cyberpunk Shaolin Warrior,
Exactly.
the bad boy of the temple, the flip
That's
lord of
it.
the temple. They couldn't stop him. There's a vow of chastity here. Not for me, bitches. Not for
Fuck.
me.
Okay, hold on. Hello?
Hello.
Okay, is it better?
1, 2. Yes, it's gone. Totally gone.
Okay. All right.
So we were saying here before that all content is probably tinged with toxin. All ideology is certainly toxic. All of it. Like there's no good ideology. There's no such thing as a good ideology. And then we spoke about Western philosophy versus Eastern philosophy. All Western philosophy, even at its best, is damaging to the extent that it's content and it offers you a dogma to hold on to. The only thing that is the antidote to that is an anti-ideology, which is nothingness. It's just pure space and a return to the body, a return to the present moment. So I would say I'd be leaning now towards saying moving away from story rather than trying to create a new one.
Yeah. It's been a slight thought that I've had for a period of time of have the idea is just having basically contextual philosophy, contextual worldviews.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of different philosophical takes are valid, but you also have to consider geography, the time period, what's currently happening. And
Yeah.
like a big part of the thing that's happening now is that you're right. There is a lot of value in a lot of Western philosophy, and it will probably help a lot of people in whatever stage of life they are. Contextually now,
Mm.
oversaturation of content, narrative, and confusion. I mean, the nothingness and the serenity of Zen is
Mm.
probably the only solution through all this.
Yeah. You would need just enough order to have a structure to hold nothing inside of that structure. You'd need just enough cup for there to be nothing in the cup. You can't have no cup. That's too much, and it would drive people completely crazy. So there does need to be just enough content to allow people to sit still without stimulation and to simply breathe. Some people call that meditation. Some people just call it sitting still, and it's the only thing that can save us now. It's the only thing.
Yeah, in a more practical sense, I guess it's like a water filter that just you're so really selective of the particles that can pass through the filter or not.
Yeah.
And currently in my life, I'm really narrowing the perspective to martial arts in general, and it's done a world of wonder in my own psychological makeup in every way. Just having, like, obviously, I'm not going to go total Shaolin monk. I took my first wushu class today, by the way.
Oh,
Not
cool.
exactly my thing. Didn't exactly register.
You
But
could say you thought it was shit. You could certainly say that to Richie, who thinks it's utter nonsense.
like, I didn't go into it expecting practicality. I was
Sure.
thinking maybe I can do this for the demonstrative purposes and stuff, but just something, I don't know. It's like I think you have to be at a Shaolin temple with robes on and have the bonsai trees around or something, because in the back of some Czech restaurant, with like some makeshift sign, it just like with other Czech people in like traditional neon Chinese garb, it didn't really scream authenticity. So
The aesthetic for me is a little false here. It's not really working for me.
yeah, it just anyways. What was I saying? What were we talking about? Narrowing.
Choosing martial arts over random content and political content.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I don't think it's practical for most people in the modern day to just monk it out, to nun it out, to whatever hyper Eckhart Tolle type of Alan Watts approach. It's just impossible with all the technology and the iPhones and stuff we have now. But I guess we can take like a page out of it and just narrow the perspective, narrow the view, not like look at everything through a fisheye lens, just zoom into that lens that you have that you can see the moon in.
Yeah. That's the P1000. That's a fucking cool camera. Thanks for reminding me. I might get that out tonight if the moon's looking good.
There you go.
Yeah. No. Are you watching? Because we were both watching a lot of political stuff like Trigonometry and Timcast and Shapiro. Are you still watching, or have you given up on that? No, me neither.
I don't touch any of it, man.
Me
I
neither.
really don't.
It was not because I was like, oh, be disciplined and stop. I just found about 6 weeks ago, I was like, I'm not getting any pleasure from this. This is just not making me feel very good at all.
It's like alcohol,
Given the conversation I had with Pierre last week, that's a hell of an insult. I found out what Pierre really thinks of alcohol.
That's not what I meant, but okay, sure, we'll go there. But yeah, it felt, I don't know, like digesting this type of content felt like drinking a bit of poison. Gives
Yeah.
you a little buzz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Gives you a little buzz, and then you just feel fucking nauseous by the end of the week or the next morning. It's just not, it doesn't do anything. And then, like, what do you really take out of it? And when you have it, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
You know, there's no productivity there.
It's a microdosing indignation, isn't it? Microdosing
Yeah.
outrage.
Oh shit.
I need my
Microdosing
little
outrage.
fix.
That's right. They're like lines of outrage that you, because like that's the, I don't do this, so I wouldn't know, but like with that substance, cocaine, right? It's it gives you the illusion that you're gonna be like a fucking startup millionaire CEO genius because like you're just thinking and you're talking with your fucking friends out of your ass about it, but nothing ever really gets done except the worst come down the next day.
Yes. Yes, and reuniting with ex-girlfriends and generally making a mess of one's life.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens when you digest political content.
Oh, we love to make good decisions in life. So I don't know what you guys thought Tentacle Croissant was, or where you thought we would go with this project when you joined up with us. But now we're talking God, alcohol is bad, drugs are bad, and go to therapy because we're both in psychotherapy. We became the fucking most straight edge, boring.
But perhaps that was the whole fucking plan the Archons had for us. The DMT elves are like, let's take these two debaucherous, cheeky bastards and like have them party only to lead the way to a holy life in the end, you know?
Seriously, like, this is not, you know, Pierre's like, do your martial arts training, and I'm here going, okay, kids, I'm back in counseling. It's fucking amazing. I'm saying that for real. Like, it really fucking helps.
Has it?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know
Awesome.
how I've lived. I don't know how I've been living without it. I really don't. Because, well, obviously I jumped the way I do things, jumped in the deep end. I've had like five sessions this week with 5 different people, but that's because I'm trying to assess who the best match is for me. Just the ability to converse with another adult who doesn't know you and doesn't know your situation, who is trained, you know, who's trained in this stuff.
Right.
It's such a relief. It's such a fucking big relief. It's such a big help. Yeah, I'll be sticking with this now. I'm just going to say, okay, this is what I do. Like once a week or at least once every 2 weeks, I talk to somebody. And
Yep.
You know, I should have done this at the beginning when I went into the crisis. I should have done it straight away. And I don't know why I didn't. I really don't know why I did. I don't know why I tempted fate. I don't know why I tempted the Lord.
Because I think the solution is too easy. Just talk to somebody.
Yeah.
You know, just pay someone to talk to. And it's like, what? Come on. You know, I don't need that. Fuck that. You know, but yeah, like the beginning of my crisis, I just immediately booked two sessions a week, and I've been pretty consistent. This month, I think he had a trip for a month, and I was like, I'm doing pretty good. Let's just like go without it for a month and just see. And I'm like, I'm not like spiraling back down, but I can see the difference of having a regular check-in to have that word vom, you know, just like vomit out your soul once or twice a week, even if you're like already okay. It's really, it's like a pressure valve that you release every week, and it adds up, and then you feel more sane by the end of the month.
Well, that's content as well that you're vomiting out, and to the extent, to be clear, like it's your life and it's important and it really counts. These are your pains, your hopes, your fears, your disappointments. But like, let's take a step back. We are a creature alive, all of us watching this today in 2021, who is evolved to be externally focused in low resource environments with extremely high threat. That's what we're evolved to.
Oh, how funny.
We're savages. We are absolute fucking savages. We live a life of complexity and words and content and politics and symbols and signifiers. Of course, we're fucking full of stuff that needs releasing and needs to go out. We're not designed for this. We're designed to be externally focused. We map the external world pretty effectively as hunter-gatherers. Mapping the internal world, my hypothesis is, it's so frustrating because your brain, the meat, is literally not evolved for that. It's
Yeah.
fucking hard. It's
Right.
like trying to juggle with your hands behind your back or something.
I think it goes back to what you were saying about emotional bodies. I think
Mm,
it's what like the whole chakra system was trying to map out in general. I don't know too much about it in clarity, but if I were to have a layman's metaphor for
mm,
it, it's just like it's just a bucket that you have beyond your brain,
mm,
and when you're absorbing content and you have certain emotions, it just fills up. And if you don't pour it out for a refill,
mm.
then it'll overflow and you'll get fucked up. Whether your refill or you're pouring out as your therapist, or in my case, it's martial arts. I think depending on how sensitive you are and how reactive you are,
Mm.
your output has to match your input. Like it
Yes,
has to be almost equal.
yes,
Otherwise, like I'm obviously a fucking erratic, chaotic person. Martial arts is the thing that's so explosive that releases just as much output as there's as much input too, you know?
yes, yes. Yeah, 100%. That's a good thing for people to remember. And it makes it, it simplifies it as well. Your output should match your input. Otherwise, you're
Mm,
going to have problems. You're going to get heavy. You're going to get burdened. You're going to get weighed down. You won't be able to think. You'll be anxious. You'll be depressed. What is the output? Is it martial arts? Is it training? Is it counseling? Is it meditation? Is it art? You
mhm.
need to have it. You've got to have that pressure valve. You need to get it back out of you, because these are pressures and stresses that we are not evolved for. We have created, we've opened Pandora's box with technology. We
Mhm.
really, really have. I don't think anybody would even fight me on that now. Like
No.
there used to be people who would be like, no, 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 it's overall, it's really, really good. I'm not saying good or bad. It's irrelevant. It's Pandora's box.
Yep.
We don't know
Yep.
what we've done. And clearly we are struggling like hell to cope with it. We're really struggling to cope.
Yep.
We are the victims of our own success. We
Yeah.
are imprisoned by the things that we thought would free us.
I mean, I was one of those people, man. I had a very still slightly optimistic view of this stuff, but it is Pandora's box. There's no way that we can go back. And I'm finally at a stage where I see the heavy detriment that this stuff comes with. It's
Yeah.
just an oversaturation of everything all the fucking time. All the time about everything. All the time. You know?
I really like the Bo Burnham clip
Yeah.
that you posted on your
Yeah.
Instagram today, where it's like, do we really need to have all the people expressing all their opinions about everything all the time? Is
Yeah.
that really
Yeah.
necessary?
In other words, can we all just shut the fuck up?
Meditation, baby. Sit
Exactly.
down,
Right.
shut the fuck up, breathe, get back into your body. We're investing in the illusion. We're investing in symbols. If people don't like the word illusion or Maya, you can say symbols. It's a symbolic world. Not that symbols don't mean anything. Not that a signifier doesn't have a signified thing. Of course it does. But you're not, in all humility, brothers and sisters, we're not the animals evolved for this. We're not ready for this. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
breaking us. It's breaking us all.
Yeah, man. There's just no way that anybody can sanely have this much input from the digital world and just
Mm.
remain okay. Jeffree Star opened a yak farm, a ranch in Wyoming. Dude, this thing has broken everybody, bro.
That sounds like that line should be put into like a trap music song. Jeffree Star has opened a yak farm in Wyoming, and should have like some
That's
trap
Kanye,
music with
bro.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it just really goes to show who people who would be considered the royalty of the internet are
Yeah.
done.
Yes.
I mean, who else is on the internet now? The people that were talked about everywhere, they're gone. It's too much.
Yeah. And I'm not. I mean, I'm not surprised, and obviously it's growing in some ways, and it's what's weird with the internet is in some ways it hasn't changed, right?
Hmm.
I had this conversation yesterday with somebody who's looking to set up a digital marketing business, and we were talking about how there's so much money in it. Well, there was so much money in it back in 2010 when I went
Hmm.
to New Zealand. I was due to do a martial arts series with two English guys who were actually working as social media marketers, and they openly said, we don't really do anything for these companies, but they don't know what social media is. So you have a 50-year-old CEO, this is 2010, saying, I don't know what Facebook is, but I reckon I need to be on that Facebook. Everybody tells me I'll get free advertising. Can you set up my Facebook? And you go, yeah, of course I can. It's £1,000 a month. And you set up their Facebook and you post the pictures you say you're going to do. And they just have no way of tracking how successful it is. It's not a total bullshit industry, but all of advertising has a heavy layer of bullshit laid over the top, because we just don't know really to a nicety what our advertising does. So even back then, you think, oh, the technology's changing, it's moving so fast, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, is it though? In 11 years, that game hasn't changed. CEOs have not become social media savvy. There's still, in Prague, apparently right now, there's an explosion in people hiring social media marketers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what, in 2021, you fucking idiots just haven't worked it out yet? But they haven't. They still haven't.
Well, I worked for a startup of social media marketing, and I'm like,
you did.
And I was like, this is what you do? Like, oh my God. And that's why I'm like, Richard, we need to start a real one. Like, give people real fucking advice, because like the person I worked for, it was just like, just post photos of a fucking pool enclosure and then get fucking $2,000 a month for that. You know?
It's a strange world we live in now. It's a very odd mix of massive naivety combined with massive arrogance. And there's a thing, I don't know if we've discussed it here before. I'm so sorry, I can't remember his name. There was a man who ended up being thrown or falling out of a window after a CIA experiment. He was an American man involving LSD. And they gave him too much LSD and he freaked out and he fell out of a window. And his son was campaigning to tell the world about MK Ultra and all about the secrets of MK Ultra and what they don't tell you and blah, blah, blah. And this is an old interview. It's got to be 15 years old. And they said to him, what are your challenges that you're facing? And this is, I don't know, let's say it's 2004, 2005. He said, there is a fake cynicism in the world now. So if you say to people, the American government had a project called MK Ultra, and one of the end results of that is they were giving I think in whorehouses at one point, in brothels, they were giving unsuspecting Johns LSD.
Yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, just to see what it would do. And my father died as a result. He was already emotionally unstable. They gave an emotionally unstable man a powerful dose of a psychedelic and he jumped out of the fucking window. And when I tell people about that, everybody kind of sneers and is like hipstery and ironic and like, well, of course, man, the fucking government, man, of course they fucking. What do you mean, of course? What is this false cynicism? It's one of the most it's one of the most unseen dangerous factors we have in our culture, because it's so hyper normalized. This weird fake cynicism. Yeah, I already knew that.
Yeah, that's okay. I want to, yeah. I've noticed that too. I don't think we've ever brought it up, but I see that. And I'm like, I bring up some fucked up shit that's like, stuff like that, for example, this weird MK Ultra shit. And then you hear this weird condescending, oh, you don't already know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, poor, like, oh, you don't know? Like, oh, God. What does that do? What do you, like, how, yeah, okay. How does that, you feel better about it? Like, good
you
for
feel,
you.
You feel like a big man now? You're a big
like
tough guy
man.
now?
You still did nothing. You just knew before. Good job.
It's almost like a way of not doing anything, isn't it? It's actually a way out. You go, oh, you didn't know about that. Oh, you should read this. And it's like, no. Fuck reading this or watching this YouTube. No. The CIA is alleged to have given people psychedelics and it killed some of them. Who did they give it to? Their own citizens. For what? Because they didn't know what it would do and they wanted to find out. And that was what they thought that was the best way to find out. Yeah. I'm like, doesn't that blow your fucking mind? What kind of a world are we living in where that happens? What kind of a world are we living in when that happens? And what kind of a world are we living in when that happens and nobody does anything? Slavoj Žižek made this point about let me say this delicately, some of the suffering that was inflicted on Bosnian women, systematic, including forced impregnation to change the race. that came with all manner of the most horrendous torture. And the women who survived it, the Bosnian women who survived it, said, we must survive so that we can tell the world. Because in their fantasy, one day they would be freed from this and it would be over. And then the whole world would want to know. And they were freed from it and nobody gave a fuck. Could you imagine going through all that and thinking the world will want to know and they'll make documentaries and films about this? Yeah, they made a couple of documentaries. Okay, but nobody really gave a fuck.
But you know what's even worse than that is people pretending they do, then writing a hashtag on a story, and it's popular for 3 days, and then no one does anything.
Yeah.
And I think this is like that thing that we covered last time, and I think it should be restated. Understanding is not action.
Yeah.
And there's a heavy misconception these days because everything's over cerebral, over analytical. Just because you get a concept doesn't mean anything changed, anything happened. There's no action and there's nothing done.
Yeah.
But it's easy to, I think, fall in that trap that you see everywhere now. Yeah. Oh, I am now educated. I educated myself in my awareness of the fact that, I don't know, fucking TV monitors were made in Mongolia by squids. I don't know, and it's like, congratulations. Now, you just know. And the people think it's an action because they just know,
Well, and Zizek would say, this is how ideology functions today. It's masturbatory. You jerk off, you squirt or you cum onto the internet and you go, look at my cum, look at my jizz, look at my squirt. And then other fucking idiots go, great squirt, great cum. It's done. The conversation's finished. That's it.
Great cum.
Great cum. Well done, everybody. It's time for tea and biscuits. Lovely bit of jizz. Thank you. Goodbye.
And it's a pretty grotesque analogy, but the internet functions like that, and I am absolutely disgusted by how it functions like that. It really is a grotesque
analogy, but what people are actually doing online is far more grotesque. When you fly a flag because people were murdered and butchered, and then you take it down a week later because the moment has passed and you're not getting any more likes for it, that is far worse. Yes, you fuckers. I know you're out there. Write your shitty comments through guilt. I know you're fucking out there, you posturing then good boobs. It's far worse. You don't care. This is the good Aberrant Preach video where they just said, we don't care and you don't care either. Yeah. You're just pretending.
Right.
You're just stop fucking pretending and stop pressuring us to talk about something that we don't understand when you don't even care about it.
Right. But they posted, so it's okay.
So it's okay. It's done. They squirted. Yeah. We all clapped at their cum and went home.
But you're saying earlier about everything being advertising and marketing and everything being illusionary, abstract. It's like the direct physical representation of the Buddhist principle of Maya. It's ultimate dream world where the physics are not the same. Things don't make sense. There's no logical order. There's no equal risk reward, labor reward. None of that operates in the same way digitally as well. And like, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep bringing up martial arts from now until ever. But like, when I'm doing this shit, I see literal, physical, tangible improvement. And I think it's one of the fields left, one of the very few fields left that encourages mastery.
Right.
Music? Fuck no. Social media posts, whatever. Photography? No. Like, all of these other fields, especially in the creative world and social media in general, do not operate in the same frame. They do not encourage any improvement or mastery. You get punished, if anything. But in this world of martial arts, people want and are encouraged to do better. To just do better. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. And it's physical. We must return to the bodies. We've got to heal our relationship with our bodies. I think the moment that we're living through globally is not just because we've damaged our relationship with truth. We've damaged our relationship with our bodies and our sense of what health is. The resilience is just gone. People just believe that they're fragile and that tiny invisible things are waiting to slaughter them and their neighbors and the milkman and their kids and the dog. And you just think, for Christ's sake, like, okay, like, be smart, don't be an idiot, but Come on, guys. This
Right.
is evidence of broad scale hypochondria. When you mentioned before the dreamlike state that we've all gone into, there's a psychologist out there, I don't remember his name, who made the point that dreams are exactly like psychosis, because things happen that shouldn't happen. You can hear your visuals, and you get all kinds of strange effects that are they're parallel to psychosis. And I think we had a conversation via Telegram earlier this week where I was saying I think we are now slipping into mass psychosis.
Right. Right. Yes. Yes. And you think about this. How long can you be in a dream before you just don't want to be in it anymore? Unless it's
Yeah.
really, really good. All it takes is a snap and it's terrible. And,
Yes.
a dream that feels like it lasts a week is way too long.
Yeah.
Just utter, complete, absurdist nonsense, intense, traumatic nonsense at that.
Yeah.
We can barely handle that. Yet we're spending at least fucking 8 hours a day in the closest thing to a dream world, which is the internet.
Yeah.
If we can barely manage our own dream selves, this is why schizophrenia and psychosis exists. It's a very chaotic world to be in. It's not a healthy functioning mind.
Mm.
But entering a world where complete chaos is the norm of every type of thing happening at once,
Mm.
that's of course that's going to do something.
I mean, it has to. Like the idea that people can be pushed apart from each other, can be isolated, and as you rightly say, be subsumed into this alternative reality with different rules. I mean, it's nobody's going to claim the rules of the internet the same as real life, and it has this deliberate perception warping effect. It's a deliberately perception warping effect. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a real problem for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And I mean,
So
at
sorry.
this, yeah, go for it. What happened?
I am going to have to go a little earlier than I thought. There's a young lady waiting outside for me for this to finish, but for some reason all the street lights are out, so she'll be waiting in complete darkness in the street.
Okay.
So,
You have to go right now.
we should wrap this up
Yeah.
in about 3 minutes. She'll be fine. But my paranoid head is, you know what it's like. Like it's pitch black. Like for some reason all the street lights have died, and it is now dark. So
spooky.
It's spooky as shit. But I would survive better in a zombie apocalypse than she would. So.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up a little early today, but
sorry about that, folks.
So any long lasting words, any words of encouragement or any words of anything for the people?
Yeah. Any words of anything for the people? I would say, I wanted to say today, like if you've had bad counseling experiences in the past or psychotherapy experiences in the past, don't let that put you off for life. Try again. It's always evolving. It's always moving forward. I use the British counseling directory. If you just put in your country, USA counseling directory, British counseling, whatever, Australia counseling directory, you will have one. And you can go through, you can choose your issues. You can choose whether to see them online or face to face, and just try. Just don't give up. Just try, because I feel like this has been a balm to my soul. This has really, really helped me a lot. And I definitely will not stop doing this in the future.
Yeah, and just to back you up, I've had some really bad therapists like in the past, really bad ones, and I finally found someone that's reliable, and it's again, like you said, worked immensely, incredibly well. And the second part of that is, I think, go to therapy and minimalize your life. Really,
true. I mean, seriously, like right now, we need simplicity, we need minimalization, and we need to be making those parts of us that are wounded and unconscious conscious. They need healing. They must be healed.
It's very good. Well, I hope next week we can continue a bit longer. But
we definitely will. We'll do a normal 2-hour session next week, folks. I must apologize for this. It's an unusual circumstance.
Hey, we're all going through the same thing, right? Sort of.
Kinda.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Richard, lead us out.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for your time and for your attention. And we look forward to speaking to you again very, very soon indeed.